Hello! Welcome to a Flight of Nova guide video on container manual load and drop zone missions. This is the new mission type that was added in the most recent update. And I am not going to refer to this as an advanced guide because this is a new mainline feature in the game. But just be aware that it is kind of like the new final boss of the game. If you had any difficulty with the belly scanner missions, then this is considerably harder than those. So just be aware that there is some muscle memory and practice that you're going to need to build up, but this guide will try and get you there as quickly as possible. So first of all, let's find a mission. You notice we're in the TL01, so because of that, that means that now this local missions button will always give us container missions, not necessarily the new ones. It can be like this where it's a standard local container mission. But in rogue mode, we do get these little markers that say it's a manual load, self-load. It shows up here and here. And this is a sky barge drop zone mission. This is a normal drop zone mission. And this is neither one. So let's pick that one up. And so yeah, if you are not very familiar with VTOL operations and landing on a landing pad and the basics of VTOL like that, if you're not very comfortable with it, I would recommend first watching my guide video on that and doing those that little practice routine that I recommend there. And I'll link that guide in the description and put a card here so you can go do that if you'd like to. So first of all, let's talk about how we pick up containers from the starting location. You notice I'm going to just sort of overfly the area first to get a feel for what it looks like, what the surroundings are. In this case there's no obstacles, but we see that our container is stacked on top of another container, so we have to account for that. First of all, let me actually just get this container off of where it is, and I'll move it to a more convenient location to do some demonstrations. So ignore this first part. I'm just moving this container away from where it is. 100% graceful. Alright, so this rooftop here looks pretty good. We'll just drop it down here for further demonstration, and we are going to get hit by a dust storm, but that's fine. We have to deal with the hand we're dealt, right? Does that make sense? We have to play with the hand we're dealt and deal with it. Alright, so we've got a container and we've got to pick it up, but we don't have the muscle memory to do that quickly. So let's say we're here, right? It's pretty easy, I think, if you are comfortable with landing on a pad to get into this sort of position. That shouldn't be a difficult thing for you to do, I would think. So let's assume that we're starting from this position. Now from here there are a couple of things you can do to pick up a container. But I think that the easiest way to do it is actually to intentionally mess up. And let me just show you what I mean. See that? Now, if you are trying to pick it up the normal way, I suspect that you will end up in this situation a lot. I mean, maybe not that badly, but here, let me just fail a little bit less badly here. So say you're trying to pick it up and you drop down a little bit too early, like that. Okay, so now now we're almost picking it up, but not quite. Okay, so we've ruined our chances, right? No, not only have we not, but actually this is a pretty easy situation to get into. You're probably going to get into this situation accidentally without trying to, and it is very easy to fix it. And let me just show you. You just lift up a little bit and then switch into cruise mode. Oop. And you will just automatically pick it up like that. Let me do a better job of demonstrating that because I kind of was trying to do it slowly and it messed it up. You do have to lift off of the ground just a bit, or else the cruise mode will automatically shut off. So you can shift into cruise mode, but then you don't have any thrust, and it'll automatically shift you back into VTOL. It's trying to be helpful, but we actually want the cruise mode to go forward, so you have to lift off just a bit and then push the button, and it just fixes itself. Okay, so that's the first technique. You can use that either if you're trying to do the pickup normally, or you can just do that intentionally to make things easier for yourself. If you can get into this position, it's not hard from here to get into this position, right? And let me just show you this from in the cockpit view. You don't even really have to like aim or anything, it just works automatically. So there you go, that's option 1. But let's say you want to be a little bit more graceful about it. Well, let me just land here to demonstrate. So what's supposed to happen is that you've got this box that shows the capture zone of your ship, and then the container will show as another rectangle that comes in. And of course obviously you want to align your prograde vector to go right over the center line of the container. That will make that container box move in directly in line with your target box. And as long as you've done that, all you have to do is drop at the right time and it will capture. It's important to realize that the time you should start dropping is when the box actually overlaps this target. You shouldn't try to don't drop before, because you'll think that the container needs to be a little bit ahead because you're moving forward and you need to start going down early, but that's not correct. This target is basically where you should start dropping, because that target aligns with basically here, where the container should be, but you can see that there's a lot of the ship behind that, and this tail will pick up the container for you. So that means two things. One is, it means that you can do what I just said, and it also allows for another technique that I'll show you in a second. Oh, by the way, before we do this, let me just point out, the cockpit is at the very front of this ship, right? So when you're yawing, just be aware that that's how the ship is moving, If you're in the cockpit view, you've got to be conscious of the fact that you're not in the middle of the rotation of the ship. You're way out in the front. And that's just something that you had to get used to. It's very different in this ship from the other two craft types in this game. So it just takes a little bit of getting used to. But anyway, I'll just demonstrate that really fast. And one thing I think is true is that the faster you go, the easier it is. So if you're trying to go slow, you're going to have more opportunity to get misaligned. But if you are, and also if you're going slow, you have more opportunity to accidentally get like that. But if you do, just remember that you can go into cruise mode and it'll fix it for you. Alright, so let's just try that one more time. Fortunately, it seems that this dust storm isn't going to hit us, so that's nice. Let me just get back a bit farther so it's a better demonstration. And we want to line up so that our direction of motion is lined up perfectly with that center line on the container. If we can see our prograde vector, we can use that. And then as soon as the box is overlapping, then drop, and it'll capture. And you don't have to do what I'm doing where I, try to slow the drop down. You can just I'll show you this. You can just fall, you know, and it sounds a little messy, but it works. You can do that. That's totally fine. Okay, so now one last technique, and this is kind of the technique that I prefer, which is that if you look at this tail, the tail will sort of magnetically latch into the container and pull it up into where it's supposed to be. If you're coming at the container and you are moving forward and you pitch up at the last second and kind of like hook it like that, then that ends up working great. And you don't have to aim as precisely, you don't have to start your descent as precisely. The only thing you do have to do is pitch up at the right time. So we're heading forward towards the container, we're right over it now, we're just going to pitch up, and we captured it. And I'll just show that again and see if maybe we can not get the big bang sound effect. Get a nicer demonstration from farther away and just how easy this is. It's actually definitely the easiest way of doing this. Just line up with the container and pitch up and captured. Alright, so that's capturing containers, manual load containers. Let's talk about drop zones. There's a lot less to talk about with the drop zones. You know, it's honestly not even particularly harder than just landing at a pad. In fact, I think there's a good case to be made that it's easier than landing at a pad. But there is one thing I do want to just mention real fast about drop zones, which maybe might not be too obvious at first. And that is, if you miss, your first instinct in this situation might be to just try ramming the container and just see if you can push it onto the drop pad. And that appears like it doesn't work and it's not possible to move them while they're on the ground. So you might just give up after trying that once. But let me just show you that it is actually possible. You just have to have a little bit of velocity and shift into cruise mode just before. And there you go. Great success. Perfectly on the pad and no problems there. Just as we intended. Just as we intended. Alright, so that is a quick guide to manual load and drop zone missions in Flight of Nova. Hope you enjoyed it, and have fun playing.